One summer afternoon, as the sun shone brightly, Zane was a curious and thoughtful 14-year-old boy. After school, he would often visit his granddad's house, a place that felt both familiar and full of wonder. It wasn't just the old wooden floors or the sweet smell of cinnamon cookies that made him feel at home. It was the grand coral reef tank that sat proudly in the corner of the living room. Granddad had always had a love for marine life, and over the years his tank had transformed into a stunning underwater world brimming with colorful corals and fish of every imaginable hue. Today, like most days, Zane couldn't wait to visit the tank. He'd rush through the door, greet his granddad, and head straight for the peaceful, mesmerizing world behind the glass. As he approached the tank, his granddad followed with a small bucket of fish food. "Ready to feed the fish?" Granddad asked, smiling. Zane nodded enthusiastically. The fish were already swimming near the surface, their bright scales glinting in the soft light. As they sprinkled the food into the water, Zane couldn't help but notice something strange. The fish seemed to know his granddad. They swam toward him, almost like they were following his every movement. Zane chuckled. "Granddad, I think they know you. They follow you everywhere." Granddad chuckled, his eyes twinkling. "Maybe they do. I've been feeding them for so long. They've grown used to me, but every time I feed them, it feels like we're all part of something bigger, something that connects us." Zane nodded, entranced by the vibrant dance of fish around the coral. But as he stared into the tank, something happened. He felt a strange drowsiness washing over him, and before he knew it, he had fallen asleep, right there by the tank, his head resting on the cool glass. In the depths of sleep, Zane had the most peculiar dream. He found himself standing on a rocky shoreline, the sea crashing at his feet. The water was dark and cold, and the air smelled of salt. Then, out of the depths, a shadow appeared. It was huge, much larger than any fish he had ever seen. Slowly, a shark emerged, its sleek body cutting through the water with ease. Zane wasn't afraid. Instead, he felt a strange calm as he stood face to face with the creature. The shark's voice echoed in his mind, deep and rumbling. "You seem curious, boy," the shark said. Zane blinked, surprised. You can talk?" The shark tilted its head. "I can. We, creatures of the sea, have our ways of communicating. I've seen the way humans act toward us, and I think it's time someone asked me why we do what we do." Zane nodded eagerly. "Yeah, I've always wondered. Why do sharks attack humans?" The shark paused, as if choosing its words carefully. "Mostly, it's not our fault. It's a mistake. It shouldn't happen, but it does, and it's a human error, in my opinion." Zane frowned. "But why is it our fault?" The shark's deep eyes seemed to soften as it spoke. "For starters, you know how the ocean is changing, right? The CO2 levels rising, the temperature of the water rising too. You humans are taking too much, too fast. Overfishing has left us without enough to eat, so we have to adapt. That's when things go wrong." Zane listened intently, his mind racing. "Adapt? How?" "Some places, you humans like to swim with sharks, don't you?" The shark continued. "Professional divers bring bait to attract us so tourists can take photos and videos. It's easy food, and we'll take it if it's there. We're not stupid. We're creatures of efficiency. Why chase a fish when you can get food without effort?" Zane's eyes widened as he processed this. "So, the attacks are just mistakes?" The shark nodded. "Exactly. Most of the time, the attacks are not deliberate. We might bite an arm or leg because it's where the bait is, where your divers are feeding us by hand. The buttocks, too. People carry bags full of fish. Sometimes You humans even throw dead sheep or animals from your boats, hoping to feed us. It's free food, and in murky water, we might mistake you for something else, like a dead seal or a sheep floating by. Zayne's mind was spinning. He had never thought about it this way. So, you don't want to hurt us, you just want to live? The shark's voice grew gentler. We don't want to harm humans, we just want to live in peace as you do. We don't like the attacks either, but you must understand, you are part of the problem. The oceans are changing, and we are trying to survive. You have to stop feeding us, stop treating us like something to be conquered or filmed. If you do, maybe we'll stop making those mistakes. Zayne nodded slowly, his heart heavy with understanding. So, we have to be kinder to the ocean, to you, to all of it. The shark's eyes seemed to brighten, a hint of gratitude in its gaze. Yes, please, be kind. Suddenly, Zayne felt himself being pulled from the dream as if the ocean itself were letting him go. He woke up with a start, blinking in the soft light of his granddad's living room. His head still rested on the glass of the coral tank, and the fish swam lazily by. For a moment, he wasn't sure if it had all been real. But the message was clear. Zayne stood up and looked at his granddad, who was sitting nearby reading a book. He smiled at him, a thoughtful expression on his face. "What's on your mind, Zayne?" his granddad asked, noticing the look. I think I understand something now," Zayne said softly. "We need to take better care of the ocean and the sharks. They're not trying to hurt us, they just want to live. Like we do." His granddad smiled warmly. "That's a wise thought, Zayne. The ocean has a way of teaching us if we're willing to listen." And from that day on, Zayne made a promise to be kinder to the world beneath the waves, to respect the creatures of the sea, and to share the shark's message with others. He knew that peace could only be found when both humans and sharks learned to live in harmony with the ocean,